Hey there, Python programmers, coming to you with another video in Brad Codes. Today we're going to start a new terminal game called Snowman. This is going to be a fun one, pretty fitting given the season. We are almost headed to winter in a little bit, and hey, Christmas is going to be on us before we know it, so a fun-filled Snowman game. For these videos, you're going to want to check out the details of this video. Go to the repo for the games we're making together because there's some starter code you're certainly going to want. In here, we have a file called words.txt. These are going to be the words we randomly pick to play our fun-filled Snowman game. We also have a file called stages. This is going to be a little bit of our Snowman graphics, so you're going to want that. We've got a fun-filled ASCII art logo for this game too, and then snowman.py is just where we'll write our code. So again, you want to grab that repo. Link to it is going to be in the details of the video. Let's jump into writing some code. So what I want to start out with in the first video is we're going to make two helper functions for this game. From random, we're going to need to import that great choice method, and then let's just jump in. Our first function will be getGameWord. We've got that file, we've got to read from it, so we can access our words. And hey, let's write a docstring while we're at it. Reads in words.txt. And then randomly chooses a game word. Very exciting. So first we'll need to start a with block. We typically want to do that when we're opening something. And again, the open built-in needs the name of the file we want to open. If it's in the same directory, we can just give it the name. If it's not, we're going to have to give it a path to whatever it is. And we'll want to open it as file. Let's just take a quick peek at what this looks like. If we print it, we want to cast it to a list though. And what this will show us is that we do have a tiny bit more work ahead of us. So let's again test this out. And hey, look at those words. So we're seeing our words, but we're seeing a /n for a new line. If we look at this text file, these words are separated by new lines. We can't see them, but there are characters /n saved in this file, basically when you hit the enter key to make a new line. We certainly do not want those because we don't want to have our user guess voice /n or something like that. So we've got to do something to get them out. Luckily, that's not a problem. We can use a list comprehension to iterate through that whole list of words and maybe use a string method on them. I'm going to say words equals a list comprehension. We're going to do word.rstrip. rstrip is a string method that will strip white space from the right side of a word away, and a new line is considered white space, so that is perfect for what we want to do here. And we want to do it word.strip for word in our file. And if we now go ahead and print, don't even have to cast it to a list anymore, just print out our words. Let's see what that gets us. Hey, that looks a whole lot better. So now really at this point, all we'll want to do, instead of printing out all those words, is we're going to want to randomly choose one of them to play our game with. So we can just directly return. We're going to use that outstanding choice method we imported from the random module. What that does is, given some sort of list or iterable, it will randomly pick a value from that. And since we just created that fantastic list of all the words, we just can pass choice to it. Since we're returning it now, though, we want to print our function invocation just to test it out. And we very hopefully should randomly get words from it. Ta-da-da-do. Save it up. Let's give it a run. Shake. Heart. Weather. Hey, looks like it's working just great. Cool. So that's going to be our first helper function. Next one we're going to write is we want to kind of have a nice function that's going to handle guessing. Accepting a guess input from a user, but then also doing a couple checks to make sure, hey, that's a good input, not basically bad input or something that we don't want to allow, and abstracting that to a helper function sounds like a good idea to me. So I'm going to call it handle guess. May or may not need to take in anything. Again, let's do a nice doc string while we're at it, being good programmers. This is going to handle user input and validating it. Then we're going to run some checks. That's my name. So what we are going to do is we're just going to assume that our user is going to give us a bad guess until they give us a good one. So we'll say bad guess equals true, and then we'll do a while loop here because we probably hope they give us a good guess right from the bat, but you never know. First thing we'll want to do is actually get that input from them. Got to save it to a variable, so guess sounds like a great one to me. Then we want to use the built-in input. Input needs a string for what you want to see in the terminal printed out when you're prompted to give input. So we should probably just tell our user, guess a letter. Really good idea to leave a space. Don't have to, but it does look better when it's printed in the terminal if you leave a space at the very end of that prompt. And then we can also cast them down to lowercase letters. Probably a great idea because, hey, all the letters in our words are already lowercase letters, so we're not going to have any issues with capitals not matching lowercase letters. I love that. Now at this point, we're going to need to do another import at the top. We're going to want to import the OS module. That's the built-in operating system module. And we're going to do os.system. This allows us to write custom commands in our terminal. And all we need this for is so that we can programmatically clear that terminal, making it look like a fun game. So basically, os.system.clear is going to do the same thing as me typing clear and hitting enter in the terminal like that. Now we're going to want to go into some checks. So the first thing we can check is the length of our guess. We are looking for only single letters. So if the length of guess basically does not equal 1, you've either guessed nothing or way too many letters. Right off the bat, this is not a good guess. We need to tell our user that, hey, you've guessed more than one letter most likely. Let's do it one at a time. We can just print a wonderful F string. Something like, we can only guess a single letter. We can show them exactly what they guessed too. Might be helpful for them to know what they did wrong. And then we can say something like try again, no penalty, because we're going to be kind to our players. Now at this point, if we've entered this if block, our user has already made a poor choice. Really what we need to do, aside from telling them that, is get them to make another guess. And the continue keyword is perfect because what it is or does is inside a while or for loop, it basically just sends you back to the very beginning, which here is going to, again, allow us to have a new guess. So we're going to do that several times. Now, another thing we can do is just, hey, did we actually guess a letter? So we can say if guess is in, and we can use in to check basically if a character's in a long string. So this is honestly, while it might look silly, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. That is the best way to ensure that the single character that they're guessing is a letter. Again, there's some things that are like, is digit. That doesn't always work super awesome. It has to be a lowercase letter. And since we're casting our guesses to lowercase, it should work perfectly. So just like above, we should give our user some feedback. If they've got here, we can say, you can only guess letters, not, we can show them whatever they guessed too again. And then I think we should say try again, no penalty. And just like before, they've already made a bad choice. We do want them to continue on to guess again. Now this next one, we're going to eventually be able to check. So let's just write the code in now. We're going to take in a list, or maybe a set of guesses here, because I also want to keep track of what the person or player has guessed as they're playing. And what we can do is say, hey, if you already guessed the letter A, we can tell you, hey, you guessed A already. Don't guess it again. We're not going to penalize you for that. And it's a real easy check. Again, if we have access, and we will by passing it in, we can say if guess is in guesses. Again, we'll write the code to create the guesses in the next video. But this can check if we've already guessed something. And then just like we did above, we'll print some feedback. Basically, hey, you already guessed that. Again, we'll just interpolate the guess they gave us. Try again, no penalty. Now, if we wanted to do any other checks, we certainly could. We do want to do a continue again. Again, I'm good with just checking for these three things. So at this point, if we have passed all these if checks in our code, we have got what we consider to be a good guess. So I'm going to take our bad guess variable and set that to false, meaning, hey, we'll stop our while loop. And then basically what we need to do is return the guess because we've decided it is a good guess. So right here, we'll go ahead and return the guess. And that's going to be it for our handle guess helper right now. So in our next video, we're going to go ahead and start on the play game function that's going to handle the actual gameplay and calling these two helper functions. Look forward to seeing you in that next video. And again, like and subscribe the channel. And always be coded.